Hi, I'm Josh. I've got the Moog Matriarch here with me, and for the first time on this channel, I wanted to do a kind of like Q&A style video. I made a community post a little while back asking if anyone had any questions about the Matriarch, and I figured that I would answer the ones that I got in this video. If you have a question about the Matriarch that I do not cover in this video that you're curious about, you can just leave it in the comments. I do want to mention, because I do really like this synth, and I'm probably going to be singing its praises a little bit, because at the end, I'm going to also add my thoughts after using it for a little while. I'm not sponsored by Moog, but I wanted to add in my opinions on the synthesizer as someone who got it with the intent of using it for music making and like fun exploratory sound design. And as you're watching this video, if you're enjoying it and you are not already, please consider hitting subscribe and leaving a like on the video. And we'll just get right into answering the questions first. So I think the best question to start with comes from QL_JPEG, who asked of the Matriarch, what is it? So the Matriarch is a 4-voice, semi-modular, paraphonic synthesizer, and why don't we just go through one by one and talk about what that means. So 4-voice means you can play up to 4 notes at a time, as you can hear. Paraphonic means that you can play multiple notes, but each of them is going to use the same envelope. To give you an idea of what that means, I'm going to turn up the attack on here so the sound will fade in. You can hear how it kind of lifts in, but if I have one sound fade in and then I play another note, you can hear that that second note comes in just at like full volume, whereas on a fully polyphonic synthesizer, every voice would have its own envelope, so the other notes would also fade in. So that would be the difference. It's kind of like halfway between monophonic, only one note at a time, and polyphonic, playing multiple notes at a time, each with their own envelope. And lastly, semi-modular means that you can plug a cable into, if you see these little patch points all along here, to reroute how signals are sent through the Matriarch. So a fully modular synth, you wouldn't actually hear any sound until you had patched things together. On a semi-modular synth, you can patch things together, however, there's already a kind of default routing in it. That's why, even though I don't have any patch cables plugged in, you can hear notes when I'm playing it. And if I were to turn up, say, the pitch modulation, you can hear that it starts making the pitch do all kinds of crazy things without me having to first route a signal from that into the pitch. Two-Eyed Boy asked how patch management works and wanted to see the sequencer in action. So the Matriarch does not actually have any patch storage. I do think that's in part a consequence of being a semi-modular synth, because there isn't like really any way that you could store in memory where cables are plugged in, since it is like a physical connection. If I find that I've made a sound that I really like and I think I would like to revisit later, I'll just snap a picture of it on my phone. Because the knob positions are always going to reflect the sound. It's not like, on other synths, like you might change patches and it'll switch to a default sound and not actually reflect the knob positions. On here, whatever the knobs are saying and wherever things are plugged in, that's the sound you're going to get. So yeah, if you have a patch that you've made and you really like, the way that you save it is by taking a picture. The sequencer, fortunately, can save things, and it's actually pretty easy to use. So the first thing you have to do is you just choose the sequence you want to use. I'm going to go to bank 3, sequence 1, because I don't think I've put anything in there. And after that, this little mode switch here, you set to record, and then you play the sequence you want. I'm going to make something simple. And after that, you flip it back to sequence mode. And now if I hit play to like engage the sequence and I hit a note, and I'm going to turn the rate down a little bit, you can hear it's playing back. And what's fun about that is that it's not like you've recorded audio. It is playing back, using the settings you have on the synth. So you can start messing around with things. I might flip it into monophonic mode, bring one of the voices down an octave, bring another voice up an octave, maybe bring the filter down, turn up the resonance, add some noise. And your sequence will be repitched depending upon the key you hit. So if I hit a C, you can hear it's playing there, but if I instead hit a B flat, you can hear that it goes down a whole step. And that can be fun if you have like a melody that you want to just move around to match different chords. Like that. Stephen Herbert had wanted to know how this sounds for more conventional patching. There's been a lot of videos that definitely are like very interesting explorations of the sonic potential here. But I thought, why don't we just make a fun little patch? So I've already got all the oscillators set to triangle waves. And I'm going to put it in 4-voice paraphonic mode. Oh, I forgot I've still got the sequencer on. So from here, I would turn up the resonance on the filters, add a little bit of a filter envelope, and you can see on our filter envelope we have some attack, and then we have the sustain all the way up, and a really fast release on the amplitude envelope. So what that's going to give us is a kind of pluck sound. Maybe pluck was the wrong word, more of a pew sound. And then after we've got that, I would like to add some delay. And you've got a nice warm sound, perfect for chords. Something else that we could do is set every oscillator to a saw wave, put it into monophonic mode so you can only play one note, but it's going to use all 4 oscillators. I'll just drop the octave on that a little bit, spread them all out, and then add in a little bit of filter cutoff. And we've got a nice kind of squelchy bass sound. We could even loosen up the envelope a bit and tighten up the attack on the filter. And something like that also, if you just move everything up an octave, can be a fun lead sound. And the last question we're going to talk about from Don Bates was, will it blend? No. Lastly, I want to share my own thoughts on the Matriarch. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not sponsored by Moog, and this is an expensive synthesizer. I would not feel comfortable just saying, yeah, it's good, go out and buy it. I'm not going to tell you to do that. Definitely do a lot of research. I would not consider this video on its own sufficient, and definitely buy used. That's what I did. I recommend it. You really can save a lot of money. So I think the Matriarch both sounds and looks beautiful. On those like aesthetics with all the bright colors. You know, when my wife first saw this, she said that it looked like a synthesizer that I had designed. Moog have another version of the Matriarch called the Matriarch Dark. It is like the same thing. The only difference is that the modules, you can see here, they're color-coded, like the ARP and sequencer are yellow and the oscillators are blue. But on the Matriarch Dark, it's just every module is black, I think with this kind of like white outline. If that's your thing, like that's great. I personally prefer this style. I mentioned earlier that there isn't any patch memory. I find that this has actually both a benefit and a downside. The benefit is that I do feel like I've learned and become familiar with the synthesizer much more quickly, because every time I sit down, I don't have any patches that I can like fall back on. I really do have to have a little sound designing session every time I want to play around with this. And so you do learn quickly because of that. The downside of it is that if you want to use this synth, you can't just like jump right into the action. You do have to sit down for a little bit, figure out the sound you want, get everything set up. You can't just scroll to a patch that you want, pop up the sound, and you're ready to go. So it does slow down things like a recording process. I'd say that in return for your time, you have a lot of different fun, wild ways that you can mess around with sound design, and you also don't have to look at a screen, which is very nice if, like me, you do get headaches from staring at screens crammed with too much information for too long. The last thing that I'll mention has to do with this module here. The Bucket Brigade delay chip in here, I think sounds amazing. I'm going to just put together a really simple patch. And when I say a simple patch, I mean it is just saw waves. And no, you know what? I'll add a little filter envelope. We'll get a little crazy here. So the thing that I find so enticing about the stereo delay, I guess the best way I can show you will just be to use it. It gives a wonderful space to your sound. And here, let me show you. Overall, I don't regret getting the Matriarch, and I've already been able to put it to use on a few projects, including a free sample pack that I'll be releasing in the future. Make sure to like and subscribe for that. Shameless self-plug. Before we part ways, I want to thank you for watching and listening to this video. If you enjoyed it and you haven't already, please consider leaving a like and hitting subscribe to help support the channel. And, leave a comment if you have any questions or comments about the Matriarch, or, just something else on your mind that you're really burning to say. If you want to hear the Matriarch in action, I've got a video of 4 different sequences on it, which should be somewhere in that direction. And I do plan to do more Q&A style videos like this in the future, including one on the SP404 Mark II if my pre-order ever ships. But until then, thank you so much again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.